We're starting the final week of 2024 for fantasy basketball. Let's recap all 7 games from Monday. Michael Bolton, you sit back. I got this one.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed. Bro, I said I had it. Why?
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and it's New Year's Eve here in Australia, but to go out to a party tonight, I've got to take the bus because mother hid my car keys to punish me for talking to a woman on the phone, and she was right to do it. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Do you want a newsletter for your favorite NBA team? Of course you do. LockedOnDaily.com is where you sign up, stuffed free into your inbox 5 days a week. All the best information about your favorite team, LockedOnDaily.com. This channel here has actually got the worst information possible, but you can still double bang and subscribe and thumb up and all that sort of stuff. If you want to come here for all of your Nikola Vucevic hate, well, that's where you're at. I'm the number one fan for that sort of a fan club. I'm actually the president, founder, CEO, whatever. So that's what we're going to do. Plus all the other terrible information that you can get from this show. Well, you might as well listen to it twice. Why wouldn't you? All right, we are here on for me, the final day of the 2024 calendar year, which is apparently called Hogmanay. Any Scottish people watching this that want to confirm that? Hogmanay? Hogmanay. How's that accent? Pretty bad. I think my Scottish is better than my Irish and Welsh. Probably better than my English. Probably better than my American. Equal to my South African, maybe. Don't know. Hogmanay. That's what it's called. The final day of the year. Or so I have been reliably informed. Okay, we are talking... Let's just start by talking about some news across the NBA. Just a couple of important things to get out of the way. We did get the update on Ja Morant with his right AC joint sprain. That is the same shoulder that he had reconstructed last season. They are considering him week to week, so we know what that means. That's a minimum of 1 week, and that's not a surprise. I would have to think that's 2 to 3 at least. Their injury report, unbelievable. Yes, I know they've had plenty of injuries before, but Morant is out. Multiple weeks. Smart is out. Multiple weeks. Santi Aldama is also on doing the week-to-week dance, so that's multiple weeks. Zach Edey, concussion protocol, out. Brandon Clark was initially ruled out with knee soreness. Now they're calling it a soleus strain, calf strain. That could be a week. Jake LaRavia sprained his ankle last game. He's out as well. Vince Williams, Greg Jackson, they're out until February. So yeah. Lil Jon Concha, not going to do the voice. Scotland Pippen, yep, we're in. Big J Huff, maybe we're streaming him in as well. It's going to get messy, man. And we'll see how good Taylor Jenkins is. Very good is the answer. But we'll see how good he can be in turn to get whatever's left of this team to do anything, and hopefully nobody else gets hurt in the interim. Let's look at some waiver wire trends. Most added, most dropped over the last 48-hour window. The most added player is Scoot Henderson. And the Blazers are banged up again. No Jeremy Grant, no Delano Banton. But Tamani Kamara has returned, but I still think that Scoot's going to get good minutes here. I very much hope that we get 30 a night from here on out. I very much doubt that we do, but for the short term, yes. Scott Pippen, the second name on that list, I just talked about that. Very clear at the moment, even though they do seem to be at some point, for some reason, cautious about his minutes. Justin Champagny. That was the absolute definition of chasing. He would have like 45 minutes and 31 points or something in the game before. And we've sort of seen the way that the minutes and the production fluctuates. We'll talk about that Wizards game later on, but safe to say you wouldn't be too happy with what you got out of adding Justin Champagny. Keon Johnson, this one I just go, what? Okay, what? Keon, I know Keon was pretty good last game. The Nets, look, they're not playing today. I guess some of that was streaming in for Sunday, some of these ads here, but I really don't know where he fits. Cam Thomas is back. D'Angelo Russell is there. Ben Simmons is still around. Like at some point, maybe Keon does it, but it's not like he's got a track record of being awesome. So I don't know. That's a weird one. Chris Dunn. Yeah, I really like that. Back-to-back stream for Dunny. Big minutes there. I think when Kawhi returns this weekend, for however long it is, Dunn is probably most likely moving to the bench. and that will turn him back into a streamer. But for now, this is solid. And then Dante DiVincenzo, pretty clear at the moment. Not sure it's going to last. Also, don't care. We roll with it, and we go with it from there. The most dropped players, number one there is Larry Nance Jr., broken hand, multiple weeks, easy. I predicted that one, and I didn't predict he'd get hurt, but once the wording of the injury report came out, it was almost guaranteed that it was a broken hand that was going to require surgery, and it does. See you later. Brandon Pajemski, the MRI is allegedly clean on his abdominal strain. He is out today, and I expect he misses a couple more, but he's not worth holding anyway. Royce O'Neal, well, Devin Booker and Grayson Allen look like they're returning for the Suns, but Royce O'Neal's out, so yeah, drop him. Timothy John McConnell, totally okay to move on there. Wendell Carter Jr. played all right in the last game, but if that's like his best case, then we're not holding. No point. And the other one there is Deuce McBride. Yep, we drop him. Maybe if someone is hurt, like Brunson, who is not, allegedly, we could stream Deuce in, but that's not what we're up to, is it? Games. Let's talk about them. First one, the Chicago Bulls and the Charlotte Hornets out of nowhere. And I know it would have got all of your trade loins girded. You would have got excited. Oh my God, they're trading Levine. That's why they put him with a questionable tag and took him out of the guy. They're trading him. And that I can't stress enough that you might hit on that 1 out of 1,000 times. It just is not something that happens. People even invent situations where it happens, just because for some reason they want it to be a thing, and I don't really know why. Someone just commented to me on something earlier today I was talking about Tari Eason's leg injury, how I'm very worried about it, and they go, hey, do you think maybe they're just holding him out for a trade like what happened with Dorian Finney-Smith? Like, first off, no. But secondly, Dorian Finney-Smith played. Like, he played the last game before he got traded. Because he had an ankle sprain a couple of days before. Like, he literally played. And then they traded him after that. So I don't know. I don't know what the fascination is with, oh, look at that, I think it's a trade. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. I think once it might have happened in the last 10 years. I think that was D'Angelo Russell as well, where that happened. But it's just not a thing. Anyway, Levine got stood on, and apparently the media members were shown his toe, and it was just rotten. It was just absolutely rooted, purple bits falling off everywhere. He claims he's going to play in the next game, but we'll see. With no... you got to sit down. Ayo Dosunmu, even though he was doubtful for this game, he didn't play, shockingly enough, even though the Bulls told us he was out for 10 days. Wait for him to be doubtful for the next game, and the next game, and the next game. We know he's not playing, but they'll list him doubtful. So there was no Levine, no Dosunmu. So what logically does that tell us? Other guards should do stuff. Kobe White, 41 minutes in an overtime game, 23, 10 and 9, a steal. Not going to say his shooting was fixed, 33%, but he just took a lot of them. And that's really good to know. It is important to note, though, that if multiple players are traded, this is not what you get from White every night. You might, but you won't always get it. Plus, this took 2 guards being out to get here. It's been a disappointing season from White, but you do love that overall production. Josh Giddey wasn't at his best, but 13, 12, and 6 is passable, apart from the shooting, which is horrible. And Pat Williams, Pat Williams, 17 points, 32 minutes, 5 threes. Am I getting sucked in? No. Because the rest of the line looks like DeAndre Hunter. 3 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks. He is a stream guy, and that is about it. While Julian Phillips was the spot starter for Zach LaVine. And why? What for? 2 points, 11 minutes. Not sure of the point of that. The guy that really stepped up, he was Torrey Craig. He'd played like 10 minutes a night the 2 previous games, and then went up to 21 here. 18, 5 and 2 with 5 threes. I couldn't find it in myself to get excited about this for any scenario. Even if I'm in a 20-team league, I'm going to go, really, is Torrey Craig going to play each night? The answer is probably not. But he's on a little bit of a run. And also, if I'm going to tell you that Talen Horton-Tucker is the worst player I've watched in 10 years, and I'll keep telling you that, I'll tell you when he had a good game. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 4 points for THD. He was a plus 20. Plus 20 for Talen Horton-Tucker. And I'm not adding him in any league. Again, 2 guards out, he stepped up. I know there's a player that I've omitted here. I don't want to come across as unfair to Nikola Vucevic. But, 16 and 13, 3 threes, 3 assists, 43% from the field, 33% from the line, including some bad late misses. And I don't even consider that this bad of a game, because you know what? This is sort of what I believe you should expect. And I know what you're going to tell me. But you're also going to tell me that he's hasn't been a top 50 player over the last 3 weeks? Because that's true. And when I had him projected in the offseason, I had him around the 55 to 65 mark, in that sort of area, around 60. And he's been way better than that, obviously. But it was all through stuff which didn't have any shot, in my opinion, of lasting all season. And it has started to cool off. It has started to cool off. It's a shame. Let's talk about the Charlotte Hornets side of this, because they're annoying. They're annoying, very annoying. They trotted out the same lineup. There was no Ball, no Miller, no Martin, no Trey Mann. All those guys, well, not Mann, the other guys all sore. But let's talk about the big fella in the middle. Mark Williams, 31 minutes. I think some people doubted that he'd even get to 30 at all this season, but here we are, like 6 games in or whatever. 31 minutes, 20 and 12, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 9 of 9 from the field, 2 of 2 from the line. Now, you could make the easy argument, holy crap, that's amazing. I am selling high because I don't trust him to stay healthy. But let me just put it this way. Who do you think in the world is going to sit there and not share the same concerns? Who's going to go, oh my God, this Mark Williams guy, I've never heard of him. He looks like a very easy top 30 player. I'll give you something good back. Everyone's going to go, yeah, but like, bro, he hasn't played in 2 years. This is great, but I'll give you a top 100 guy. And you say, absolutely not. So, in theory, sure. And a lot of sell high and buy low, and I am definitely 100% guilty of this. A lot of sell high and buy low stuff works really well if you're talking about doing it against an algorithm in the way that, say, Supercoach in Australia works, or Fantasy Premier League works, where it's all based on changing prices of a player that you can then cash them in and sell them when their price is high and then buy someone else back later on, because you're rolling against a computer-generated pricing algorithm where that team, player, marketplace doesn't understand the human nuances of it. So if we were trading Mark Williams into a nondescript pile of players that's run by a ranking algorithm, sure, we would do it. But we're not. So we can't. Miles Bridges, after a really terrible start to the season, Bridges is flying at the moment. 31, 12, and 8. 32 shots is clearly going to come down when the top 2 usage guys return. But he's putting up some big numbers at the moment. And Josh Green also, 14 and 6. But we know, we talked about it on the preview show earlier today. The next 7 days, they play twice. So don't get excited about any of these guys. We'll get a little bit excited about Mark. Vasa Micic. Now, you would hope that somebody would start and shoot more than 7.7%. But he didn't. He had 7 points. He did have 7 assists. That's a lot of 7s, man. So he did have 7 assists and 2 steals. So that part of it was fine. The shooting just killed you. So look, if the next game, and I don't think this will be the case, but if in the next game LaMelo Ball is out, you roll back Micic out there and you go with it. It's clearly the right decision to have used him. It's clearly the right decision to have started him. The outcome is not correct because he shot 7%, but the decision is 100% correct. And you do it again without any hesitation whatsoever the next time if that happens. But now you just drop. And then 22 useless Daquan Jeffries minutes. Just wanted to get a big Daquan shout out in there. More games, 6 of them to go. We'll come back. We'll talk about them because I've got to tell you about. Well, I don't think I can say what I was going to say then, because Rocket RX is a very, very good company providing a very important service, and they are there to boost your confidence and take control in your bedroom. Well, Rocket RX won't take control in your bedroom. I reckon that's probably a different site that you go to for that sort of stuff. But Rocket RX helps you take control in the bedroom. They've got the solution. Imagine if you could feel more prepared, performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. Rocket RX offers FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at a lower cost than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered straight to your door in discreet, plain packaging. Trusted care from US clinical teams. A complete 100% quick online consultation will give you your free prescription today. So visit rocketrx.com to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes. Right now, our listeners can get 40% off your first order when you use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That is rocketrx.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA for $40 off your first order. Terms and conditions apply. Rocket RX. Better sex made simple. All right. What is the second game up? Oh, yeah. Knicks and Wizards, for the second time in as many outings for both of these teams, we love to see it, but we also don't, because who wants to see that? Who wants to see the Wizards get pumped 2 in a row? So the Knicks with another comfortable victory, 126-106. So you would think in another easy win against the same team that Tom Thibodeau would take his foot off the gas. I guess not, actually. Josh Hart played 41 minutes. Is this dickhead serious? Is he serious? You had 2 games against the worst team in the NBA. You won it by a combined 55 points, and you still had multiple players playing over 40 minutes. Like, surely you can get Tyler Kolek for more than a minute. Surely you can ease this stuff through a little bit more. 23, 15, and 10 for Josh Hart. 2 steals and 4 threes. That's an amazing game. He has blown all of my expectations away this season. I was down on Hart, and then the Towns trade happened, and I got more in on Hart, but nowhere near this. I didn't think we'd be getting these numbers. He's been ridiculous. Townsy had 32 and 13, on elite percentages, while Brunson, who came into the game with a calf injury, played 36 minutes, 18, 3, and 5, shot poorly. Again, there's probably a point coming up in the schedule where the Knicks could have found a spot where they play some really bad teams and give Brunson a couple of days off to get his injury to heal. That would be great if there was the opportunity to do that against the worst team 2 games in a row and maybe just find a little breather for him. But, alas, we're not in that position. OG Anunoby, a couple of poor games from him in a row, but we got a good one here. 18 and 8 with 4 threes and a block. Didn't shoot well, neither did Bridges. 13, 6, and 5 on 43%, but they just cooked here. Shamet played 11 minutes. McBride 18. Achua 19. Nice little game there from McBride with the 6 assists and 3 steals, but we don't need to be rostering him at this point in proceedings. The next one, or the next side of this game, is the Washington Wizards, and they trotted out the same starting lineup. Still no Jordan Poole. And that meant that Kyle Kuzma was back, but he was coming off the bench. And how bad is this guy? 21 minutes, 9, 3, and 3. Bad from the field, bad from the line. Like, just horrendous performances. Now, I know that there'll be many of you wanting to drop him, and I totally understand that. He's not even a top 200 player this season. He's not even a top 140 player in points leagues. I get it. I think if someone dropped him, I would add him. I'm not going to feel good about it. He's annoying to watch. His numbers are annoying to look at. But there's been stop-start from him all season. He's not going to stay a 21-minute player off the bench. I'm very confident in that. It is hard to stomach. It's very hard to stomach. With him coming back, that meant that Justin Champagnie played only 25 minutes. Passion Pop had 3 points on 13%. He did have 8 rebounds and 2 blocks, so that's okay. And those numbers look fine. But again, getting that level of production from Champagnie, which we've got in this game, requires 2 things. Kuzma to remain a 21-minute-a-night bench player and Jordan Poole to be out. And while that might be something that happens later on in the year, it's not going to be an every-night scenario here. So Champagnie's game log is impossible to sort of figure out. It does feel like it needs 2 players out to get there, and we're not there. Because I don't think Poole's going to miss time. Sorry, more time. We got 29 useless minutes from Malcolm Brogdon, 18, 6, and 7 with 2 steals. He just remains a must-roster guy. And Jonas Valanciunas, again, a very up-and-down scenario. 20-plus minutes from JV is enough for 12s. 22 and 8 is ridiculous, 77% shooting on almost 30% usage. But about a week ago, he was looking like he was playing like 15 minutes a night. Now, is that a Marvin Bagley thing? Maybe. It's hard to sort of read where Valanciunas is. Also, I don't really see teams trading for Valanciunas and playing him 25 a night. I don't know why they would do that. I just don't think that's going to be the case. But if he's a 22-minute-a-night player for Washington, that's fine. Alex Sarr, only 25 minutes. He was ill heading into this one, remember? 18 and 4 with a block, and he is starting to start. He's not good, but he's starting to put together some better performances. While Bub Carrington copped a real hard whack in this game, he left in a wheelchair. They called it a post-traumatic headache, which is wild phrasing. He had 6 points with 5 assists, which is okay, but they said he looked pretty okay in the locker room after the game. I don't think it's a concussion. Otherwise, I think they would have said concussion protocol, but they deliberately avoided saying that. But they could also just be playing funny buggers. I don't know. But we're not rostering Carrington anyway. He's not a 10, 12, or 14 team league player. Speaking of stinkers, Bilal Coulibaly. Now, it'll be very easy for you to go, oh my God, Kuzma just absolutely killed it. He destroyed my Bilal. It's over for me. That's an easy thing to look at. But it's not true. He played 31 minutes here, Bilal. He had 6 points. That's because he shot 10%. His usage was 18%, so that's not bad. But he was 1 of 10. Right. Make it 4 of 10. That's not even that good. 6 more points. Let's say 7 more points. Include one of them as a 3. 7 more points. And you'd have a 13, 3, and 6 with 3 block night and go, yeah, actually pretty good, yeah. So don't worry about it. Do not panic. It is not a Kuzma thing. There'll be other games where I tell you it's a Kuzma thing. This is not a Kuzma thing. Shooting 10% is not a Kuzma thing. He still had assists. He still had blocks. It's not a Kuzma thing. At least for this game. It's not a Kuzma thing. I think there's not much more. Oh, yeah, Corey Kispert had 16 points with 3 threes and continues to be just incredibly annoying as a fantasy player. I'm not sure why he annoys me as much as he does. But he does, so I'm just going to lean into it. More games for us to get to, but today's episode is also brought to you by Rocket Money. Subscriptions are one of the things that rules the world. I guess maybe not rules the world. Maybe that's going a little bit too far. But you know they're everywhere. They're in every little part of your life. And I actually found one of them today that I said, bam, subscribing to this thing. And I don't know how many of those things slip through the cracks. Rocket Money is here to help seal up your crack and make sure that you don't pay for things that you don't want to. It finds the unwanted subscriptions. It finds where you've got the double ups or, God forbid, the triple ups and helps you cancel those subscriptions to help keep you on track financially. It's a personal finance app, Rocket Money. Helps you find and cancel those unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and help to lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved up a total of $500 million in cancelled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. The subscription tracker is the real gold in there, but there's so many other things they can do as well with budgeting stuff and all that sort of thing. But the subscription tracker, unbelievable. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That is rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Okay, we should go through and take a look at the next game. Yeah, that would be a really, really strong idea. I think we're up to the third game of the day. It is the Clippers taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. Went down to the wire, this one. But in the end, the Clippers pull it out. 116-113 is your final score. Same lineup for the Clippers. We're still waiting the Kawhi Leonard return over the weekend. Storm and Norman Powell. I know that you won't want to sell high on him. I know that you'll say that it is 10 weeks in and he's still cooking, and it is true. It is true. 40 minutes, 35 points, 4 threes. But the problem still remains with Powell, is he is quite a DeAndre Hunter one-dimensional type of player. It's points. Yes, sorry, it's threes as well. He shot 27 times in this game. 48% shooting is really good. 83 from the line is strong. 33 usage, but there's just no way, right? He will not do this. And the interesting thing is that he had been shooting so far above his head. The last 5 games, his true shooting has dropped 4 percentage points. It's still good, but instead of being 65, it's like 60. So the shooting regression has actually hit a little bit. The difference is that, and how he is, and sometimes I'm not saying that he's deliberately like misleading us fantasy managers, because that's clearly insane. But what he's done, if you're just strictly looking at ranking or output or whatever, you won't have even noticed that. Because in that same time frame, he said, all right, I'm just going to take 4.5 more shots per game. Which, of course, won't hold when Kawhi is back. He's also decided during that time frame to be a 2 steals per game player. Again, not a sustainable thing. So if he'd maintained the same usage and seen the fall off in his shooting numbers, it's not bad. He's not shooting badly. He's just not shooting 46%. Then we'd be going, okay, I get it. But it's covered up by a 25% increase in usage over the last 2 weeks to deal with the fact that the shooting numbers have dropped, and all of a sudden doubling your steal numbers. The point remains, I like to work in probabilities. I am analyzing and projecting 500 players in the NBA every season, basically every day we're doing that for every player. I like to look at probabilities. We can go back to the best center in the NBA, Nikola Vucevic, and my probability says, yeah, he's not going to be a top 5 mid-range shooter and top 5 3-point percentage shooter. That doesn't seem likely. I am predicting a pretty big fall off in shooting numbers. And I can cop hate from it from every angle. That is okay. Because I believe that the probability suggests that he won't keep doing this. And the same with Powell. When I look at all of this stuff here, what is the likelihood that Norman Powell maintains an elevated usage while also shooting 46% from three rest of season? Not likely at all. So the usage that's covered up the drop in shooting is almost definitely going to come down and come down pretty big. And if the shooting stays at, it's still like good. He's shooting 36 or 37% from three over the last 5 or 6 games. Maybe he's a 39% shooter. That's still really good. But if you stay at 39 and your usage comes down from 30% to 22%, 24%, whatever it is, and the steals go back to the number that they've been for his entire career, then he goes back and he's the 110th best player or whatever he is, because the probabilities to me suggest that is the most likely outcome. That's how I view that. And I know it can be wrong easily. It can last way longer than I thought, easily. And it has. But all of those things meld together to provide output. And if you just look at the final output, it doesn't actually give you any indication about the reality of it, why it's happening, how it could happen. That's how I approach it. But yeah, he was great. Like, he was awesome. Unbelievably awesome. And he's going to stay in the lineup when Kawhi returns. He will continue to start. There's zero question about that. Ivica Zubac's had 20 and 16. He continues to absolutely cook. I'm not sure how much negative impact Kawhi has on him. I don't think it's going to be huge. Like, he'll lose a couple of shots, but his game is not usage and shooting. That's not what it is. Jimmy Harden, 27, 2 and 4 with 5 threes. Not a great shooting night there, but great free throws and really good scoring. The assists are a bit down, but a pretty good confidence in Jim maintaining a relative level of production. And then Chrissy Dunn, 32 minutes. This is the one that I think is going to hurt a lot. I think it's either going to be him or Derek Jones that moves to the bench. It's probably Dunn. He had 7 points, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. And if he's playing 30 a night, this is about 4 or 5 in a row where he's been 27 plus, that's a 12-team league guy. I just think that it is going to cop a bit of a hit later on. Jones had 11 points with 2 steals and a block. Solid from Derek in 31 minutes, but not something we get overly excited about. And we're very clearly not bothering here with Kevin Porter Jr. Only 16 minutes. I don't think he played very well in the time that he was out there. He had 5, 2, and 4. He shot 22%. He's just a negative player, whether you want to count it for fantasy or whether you want to count it from real life. He's just not very good. He will have the occasional blow-up game that looks very sexy. You know, remember, he scored 50 points in a game at one point. But overall, he's bad. And we don't need to be messing with that sort of stuff in 10, 12, probably 14-team leagues either. We just don't need to mess with it. He's just too negative. He's too bad, and he's too likely to get benched for me to care about too much. The Pelicans side of this equation, they also trotted out the same lineup. Yves Missi was questionable heading into this game, but he played 35 minutes, which is great. 12 and 8 is good. 4 assists is strong, and 5 blocks is awesome. You don't love the bad free throws on volume, but my point still remains with him is this is great, but I'm not sure that it gets better in terms of opportunity from here. These are great numbers. He doesn't always get you those blocks, very obviously. We know this. And despite having like good moments and good opportunities, he's not top 100 over the last 2 weeks. He's not top 130 for the season. He's good. I do think that we will end up dropping him at some point, middle of January, maybe. Maybe. This is a good game. CJ McCollum finally got some shots to fall, but man, 25 shot attempts. Can you just put it back in your pants, CJ? I don't need to see you shoot that much. 33, 8 threes, 48% shooting. Can't hit free throws again. That's great because he was sort of doing nothing, but yeah, frustrating when he takes 25 shots and Trey Murphy takes 10. Trey still remains to me like, I don't know, but at the moment, is he their best active player? It's probably still DeJounte, but Trey had 18, 4, and 6 with 3 steals while Murray continues to not shoot well. 13, 10, and 8, but he had 6 steals. So good games overall from Trey and DeJounte, and even Herbalife Jones had 18 and 4 with 5 assists and 2 steals. Really good after some very muted performances. I remain the same with Herb. You roster him in 12s, and if you're in a points league, he's a fringe waiver wire stream guy. We only got 13 BJ minutes in this game. He had 3 points. He did nothing else. People are still rostering BJ Boston in 10 and 12 team leagues, and guys, don't. Why are you doing this? Why are you still rostering him?
Get that garbage out of here.
And Jordy Hawkins, also people jumped on the Jordy Hawkins bandwagon. 3 points in 16 minutes for the George Star. All right, on to the next one. The Denver Nuggets. They squeak out the win against the troublesome Utah Jazz, 132-121. There are certain teams that when we see them on the slate, like the Utah Jazz, Portland could be one of those, going up against the Bulls defense, going up against the Wizards, all that stuff is important because sometimes you can see some games that look, wow, that's unbelievable, and you go, oh, look who they were playing. Like that's not always the case. But often, if you get a big elevator game, it can be a factor. It can be a factor. So it's not guaranteed to have good games against those teams, but often good games will coincide that way. So when we look at this game from Russell Westbrook, where he had 16, 10, and 10, he had 4 steals and he didn't miss a single shot, I'd say that's fantastic. But I'll go, yeah, it's the Jazz. That's fine. Westbrook has been a must-roster player for about 3 weeks now. He's been a points league must-roster player all season, and now he's doing it in category leagues. Now, but of course, if there's one thing we know about Russell Westbrook is that shooting is just fake as shit. It's just not going to happen, right? But he is starting, he is getting good minutes, and he continues to play well. And I'd be very worried if I was Christian Brown, if I had Christian Brown on my roster. Now, that sounds insane to say, and I'll tell you why. But again, if you want a little bit of process inside information about what I think about, because Christian Brown played 36 minutes. He had 20 points. That's fine. He had 3 steals. He had a block. He had 2 assists. He shot 75%. You go, why would I be worried about Christian Brown, Josh? He's cooking. He's going to start, and Westbrook's going to go to the bench. You're right about all of that stuff. All that stuff is true. I fully believe in that. I fully believe that part is true. But the reason I'd be worried about it is that Aaron Gordon's out here. So Westbrook's absorbing a lot of the Aaron Gordon stuff. Westbrook's playing well. If Brown needed to shoot 75% against the Utah Jazz to post this big game. And that also doesn't matter for future games. So I think that the way that Russell Westbrook is playing, Michael Malone is going to find ways to get him 30 minutes a night. And when Aaron Gordon plays, the weak link in that starting group, who's likely to lose out, is Christian Brown. We saw Brown getting all the minutes to begin the year and Westbrook pulling back. And now I do think, not now, but I do think when Aaron Gordon returns that we will get 27-minute nights and 26-minute nights and 24-minute nights and 30-minute nights instead of 36-minute nights on 75% shooting for Christian Brown. I'm not telling you to drop him. If you have dropped him, I think it's actually okay, even though that's a good game. But that's the sort of way that I'm viewing this stuff, is that if Malone is trusting Westbrook, Westbrook is playing this much, when Gordon returns, Brown's position, or at least minute load, becomes precarious. The headmaster had 20 points, 10 assists, 2 steals, and a block for Jamal Murray, while Peyton Watson, again, that's fine. 13 points, 4 rebounds, a 3, a block, whatever. It's okay. We stream it in while Gordon's out. We don't feel good about it. We don't feel excited about it. There's no real top-end upside, but it's all right. While the poop cookie Michael Porter had 21 and 6 on 44% with 3 threes. Fine game. Nothing to write home about, nothing to get excited. I didn't even talk about Big Chungus just dropping a 36, 23, and 11 game with 3 steals. He shot poorly, and we talked a lot about how he was shooting 58% from 3 or whatever it was, and how it was going to pull back, and it was a sell high that was literally impossible to pull off. But it has pulled back, and over the last 2 weeks, he's the 4th ranked player. And it is feeling, again, sounds so stupid to say this at this point after he goes 36, 23, and 11 with 3 steals. But I don't think he's going to finish the season number 1. I don't think he is. But that's fine. It doesn't actually matter that much. We'll talk about the Jazz side of things. I'm sure someone's gotten incredibly upset at some of those things I said, either about Vooch early on, about Norman Powell, about Christian Brown, or about Jokic now. Please write your local representative, your local congressman, tell them about it, or you can just drop it in the comments below and fight amongst yourselves, or with me. I'll fight with you as well. I've got nothing else to do. What else am I doing in my life? Let's go to the Jazz, because Keontae George was back. W. But Johnny Juzang started. I mean, what? I've said this a lot about how the Jazz seem to be just using a rotating cast of faceless bums in the John Collins role. Cody Williams tallied 70 minutes with 1 point. Exaggeration, but is it? Svi Mykhailiuk went from playing 25 minutes to 0. Michael Potter was in there. Kyle Filipowski started at points earlier in the year. And now Johnny Juzang is in there. Jordan Clarkson went to the bench as well for George to start. Let's talk about Keontae, who was putting up good numbers before he got hurt. And we backed, 7 points for Keontae. He had 6 assists. He had a steal. I would still be rostering him, but that's clearly not very good. And then I will continue to admit this. I'll continue to tell this. I have absolutely no idea how to judge Colin Sexton. Because his minutes went down. We thought they would. We thought they'd go down a lot with Keontae coming back, and they sort of did. He played 29. He just rattled off a casual 22 points, though. Of course he did. Took 19 shots, but 33 usage and 34 usage to Clarkson. Is that normal? No. Is it real? No, but it happened. So maybe your sell high is still open for Sexton. If anyone gave me a top 100 player, I would 100% take it for Colin Sexton. Clarko's in the really good stream, but also understand that for Sexton, I've gotten him wrong about 25 times this season. It's been an up and down all over the shop in terms of value and minutes and role and usage, and he was the bloke losing shots and minutes to Johnny Juzang earlier in the year. And now here we are. As for Juzang, 14-4 with 2 threes in 23 minutes. Cool. Probably don't have to talk about you again. While Markkanen had 17-1 with not much else. DeAndre Hunter gives the high five there to Lowry. It's been a very disappointing season. You know you're struggling when even Cody Williams' line looks a little bit more full. He had 7-1-1 with 2 threes, old Cody did, in his 17 bench minutes. And last game, it was Bryce Sensabaugh that popped off for a big scoring night, and he, of course, dropped 5 points in 18 minutes. So all of this array of balloon-faced freaks, and that sounds so weird to say, but I mean those guys who don't actually have a real head to balloon with a couple of texter marks on, because they're just random blokes all over the shop on this squad. Sensabaugh, Williams, Filipowski, Juzang, Collier, Potter, Eubanks, who are both Potter, Eubanks, and Mihailuk, DMP CDs. Don't even chase this shit. You can't. You can't get it right. Walker Kessler played 38 minutes. All right. 12-13, 4 assists and 3 blocks. Love that from Walker. But still, like, how do I get that right? How does anybody know what Kessler's minutes are going to do? I like Will Hardy as a coach. I think he's a good coach. He's becoming one of the worst coaches for us to deal with on a fantasy perspective if he's not already there. All right, let's do the next one. The Cavs went into Golden State and kicked their ass. Simple as that. 113-95 is your final score here. It was over very early, so on the Cavs side of things, of course, as they do all the time, they're just resting everybody. Garland played, 29 minutes for 23, 3 and 8? That's still a really good line. Mitchell played 27 minutes, 23, 3 and 4. Still a really good line. Jarrett Allen, pretty good line. 12-9, 1 steal, 2 blocks for 25 minutes. Evan Mobley, not as good. 7-7 with 3 blocks in 25 minutes, but they don't need to put their foot down. They were just in control of this game really early on, and that meant you got a little bit more out of Milk. 10, 2 and 4 in 20 minutes for Ty Jerome, but I don't care. I don't care enough. I don't think we should be rostering Karis LeVert. Now, the thing I'll say is that the Cavs played again tomorrow, so if you've got these fringy players and you held for the back-to-back, all good. But LeVert played 21 minutes for 9 points. The winter soldier, Max Strus, played 19 minutes for 3 and 4. Sam Merrill played 14 minutes for 5 points. You could use them again tomorrow, and I don't think Strus plays tomorrow, but there's just too many guys. The one that's probably the most interesting on the Cavs side here is Dean Wade, the best D-Wade to play for the Cavs in history. 25 minutes, 10-13, 2 threes, 1 steal, 2 blocks. You might go, okay, that's fine. And it is. It's really good. He's now like the 80th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. I don't think we need to do really that much with it. I don't think we need to look at him in 10 or 12 team leagues. But with Isaac Okoro out, he's doing some good stuff. And at least this elevates Wade from being a complete afterthought into being at least a 14-team league guy, or maybe even a 12-team stream guy on a back-to-back like this. Now, he can get hurt at any point with knee issues and shoulder issues. He can be completely invisible, but he's playing really well. And the way that he's playing is why I don't think you want to have any interest whatsoever in Max Strus. But it's a nice run that I don't think many people would actually realize that Wade is putting up some good numbers at the moment. Again, not thinking it's going to stick or it's going to matter for most people. But at the moment, a nice little hot streak, and we acknowledge it, and you can use it in certain situations. The Warriors trotted out the same starting lineup again, so we'll just talk about Trace Jackson-Davis, who played 29 minutes. He had 16-16 with 2 blocks, which is awesome. The worry you're going to have is how bad they got cooked. He was a team worst, well, not team worst, actually, because Dennis Schroeder was that, -23 Trace Jackson-Davis. So, yes, we absolutely rostered Trace Jackson-Davis, and we do it for the foreseeable future. How long that is, well, you're going to have to ask old mate Steve Kerr how long that is, because it literally might be next game that things change around. Curry played 29 minutes, he had 11, 2 and 3, stealing a block, not very good. And Dennis Schroeder continues to be not very good, and let's full-throatedly jack him.
Get that garbage out of here.
12 points, 30 minutes, 4 rebounds, 33%. You can do a lot better. We are getting to the point where Draymond Green is jackable. I don't think we do it yet, but I get it if you want to. He shot 10%, which is clearly horrible. He had 2, 8, and 5, 1 steal, 2 blocks. The good thing about Draymond is you when you roster him, you're expecting 6 points. So you missed out by 4. Not a big deal. The other stuff is all okay. It's just that shooting percentage is horrific. I would still probably hold him, understanding. In points leagues, don't worry about it. Just get rid of him. You don't really need him necessarily in a points league. I mean, you could, but you don't have to. But in a category league, you've got him and you know you're not getting points and you're not getting points. So that's okay. The shooting numbers will be better than they are here. Bud Hield.
Get that garbage out of here.
2 points, 19 minutes, 13%. No assists, no threes, no steals, no blocks because he's bad. And you surely do not have him rostered anywhere. He was like ranked. Now, I get things wrong a lot. I know this. But he was like ranked at like 60 on ESPN, I think, or 70 preseason, which I looked at it and went, what? There was some other crazy ones like Jalen Green in the 30s and Reed Shepherd and Steph Castle inside the top 100, which of course, clearly insane. But the Buddy Hield one never made any sense to me. John Kuminga backed up his 2 30-point performances with a game which on the surface looks good. He got a steal and a block, good. 18 and 10, pretty good. But man, 27% shooting, 71 from the line on 14 attempts. It hurts a ton in category leagues. You're still rostering him. You're still absolutely rostering him in all points league scenarios. But yeah, a bit of a drop-off. Still, he led the team in minutes, and that means something. We also got a Modi Muzi sighting. 21 minutes for Modi Muzi. He had 19 points with 3 threes. He had 2 steals. He took it 88% shooting to get there. So if I'm going to tell you don't worry too much about 10% shooting nights, I'm also going to tell you that an 88% shooting night's completely fake, and it's not really going to stick in that sort of a zone, and we cannot rely upon Moody for any level of consistent production. We have seen that year over year over year over year over year. It's also a pretty disappointing run of things here for Andy Wiggins. I'm still holding him, but he only had 11, 3, and 2 in those minutes that he got. Let's do the next one. The Kings, they get the win. Doug Christie, he's got all the answers over the Mavericks 110-100. We'll just ignore the best 6 players for Dallas being out, but they win it 110-100, and as they always say, you can only beat the team that is put in front of you, and they did, and they desperately needed to do that. We'll start on the Dallas side of things, though. I said that they had a million guys out because they did. Jaden Hardy started because Klay Thompson was out. Luka Doncic, of course, was out. Kyrie Irving was also out of this one. So Quentin Grimes was able to move into the starting lineup, and then PJ Washington returned from his 1-game suspension, and he replaced Maxi Kleber in the starting group. We might as well just start with Peach, who started out really hot in the first quarter, slowed down a bit, but ended up with a huge line. Again, nearly everything from this game could be thrown away because of the absence of Najee Marshall, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Derek Lively, and Luka Doncic. Doncic is going to be out for a long time. Those other guys, not so much. PJ, 28 and 4, 4 threes, 1 steal, 2 block. This is on the sometimes maybe good of the Gattuso scale, and we know what PJ can do. Spencer Dinwiddie, I just think you got to roster him everywhere. 30 and 3, 6 assists and 3 threes, and actually didn't do it while shooting that well, 44%. Quentin Grimes was fine. 11, 7 and 3 with 3 threes, and while Kyrie is out, you can use Grimey. And I don't think that he's necessarily a must-roster player when Kyrie and Klay are both playing. Jaden Hardy did very, very little. 21 minutes for him, 8 points, 2 threes, and 2 blocks. And we got like 8 minutes of Jazjan Gortman. We got 9 Olivier Maxence Prosper minutes. That's how desperate this was. And 20 minutes of a bloke by the name of Brandon Williams. Dwight Powell also cameoed for 2 steals and 2 blocks, while Dan Gafford had 8 and 6 with 5 blocks. Good for Gafford getting those blocks in. Big minutes for him. And when he goes back under 20 minutes when Lively returns, I think you'll be able to drop him in that position. But again, like, what are we taking out of this? Gafford's great when Lively's out? Sure. Dinwiddie's going to get to do a lot? Absolutely. PJ Washington cooks when players are out? No problem. But none of that really matters. Just roster Dinwiddie. Grimes is a borderline guy. PJ obviously is a must-roster player. Gafford's fine for now, and then you drop him later on when he goes back to that smaller role, and that's really, look, that's where we're sitting. I don't see what else is changing in that position. On the Kings, they were able to trot out the same starting lineup. We'll start with the bad so we can go into the good later on. Keegan Murray continues to be like horrendous. What is going on here? 4 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals. Cannot shoot at all. 25% shooting. He's dealing with an ankle injury, but this is like rock bottom stuff. Outside the top 200 over the last 2 weeks. In a 10 and a 12-team points league, it's not even a question.
Get that garbage out of here.
See you later. If I'm in a 10-team category league, I'd also jack Keegan Murray off. Like, get him out of here. 12, it becomes borderline, and it brings out the eternal question. The way that Moses was asking his mates when he was parting the Red Sea. He said, I know we've got a lot to do here. Got this stone tablet. We're walking through. We're freeing people. But if I drop Keegan Murray, can I actually make up that value off the waiver wire? And then one of his followers said, Moses, you don't have to do it as a 1-for-1, my guy. What you got to look at is that if the 5-game production of a waiver wire player is that beats 3.5 of Keegan, then go ahead and make that move. He said, sweet, as soon as we get through this river, I'm doing it. And that's how you've got to view it. It's not a 1-for-1 replacement. You're not replacing Keegan Murray. Who's better than Keegan on the waiver wire? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Can you, in the aggregate, bring that production back? And at the moment, you can because he's doing absolutely nothing. Right? Jason Gortman was better than him. Maybe not, but close enough. So that's the debate you have. I don't know if DeMar DeRozan's washed. I know he's bad at the moment, though. He is had multiple, and my rolling 2-week ranking graph, I don't think he's been in the top 100 for 3 weeks. It's really bad. I mean, we're not dropping him, but 14, 4, and 2 stinks. Malik Monk was fine. The minutes are fine. 14, 7, and 6. Sabonis 17, 16, and 7. And Fox had 33, 6, and 6. Big games from most of those guys. Trey Lyles also popped off. 14 and 4 with 3 threes. Lyles has been pretty solid. He's more just a deeper league guy, though. Vanderpants only got 20 minutes, and Keon Ellis played 20 as well. 7 and 5 with 2 steals. Herter had 3, 2, and 1. Now, we're obviously, God forbid, no one's rostering Kevin Herter in 12-teamers. Ellis is a steal streamer. He struggled offensively in this game. And we're not really seeing much in terms of changes from Doug Christie since he took over. I should have mentioned it with DeRozan. He did have 5 fouls, so the minutes were low there. Still, he still is not performing at a very high level. So, yeah, but the foul trouble was why the minutes were down in this game. So apologies for not bringing that up immediately. Let's take a look at the final game of the day. We're talking about the Philadelphia 76ers up against the Portland Trailblazers. Same starting group out there for Philadelphia. They win really easily, 125-103. We had some absolute bananas lines here from the big Joel Embiid, importantly, but 36 minutes, 37 and 9, 57% shooting, 92% from the line. I think he played 32 minutes in the first 3 quarters. I would always be trying to sell off Joel Embiid, but if you've got him and you've stuck with him, you're just going to enjoy this, I'm guessing. Kelly Oubre has been a disaster. And then he played Portland and had 15 and 5 with 8 steals and a block and shot 60%. And you know that I've talked about him a lot as a streaming guy and a guy you want to look at. And I hate how he plays and I hate his fantasy game. And I hate how he's producing. And I'm okay if you want to drop him. But the minutes remain intriguing. Well, this is what we got. Fantastic. Paul George was not fantastic. He was terrible. I am very certain if I didn't include him in one of the last shows, he's going to be a buy low on the buy low show tomorrow. He had foul trouble as well. 3 fouls really early on, ended with 5 fouls in the 4th quarter or 3rd quarter. Played 23 minutes. He had 9, 6, and 4, which is it's not terrible. It's not great. It's not terrible. And the thing that worries me a little bit with George has been the shooting this season, but also the usage is well down here as well. Actually, that's not true. 25% usage is fine. He just got into foul trouble. But people hate Paul George. They hate him. They think he's washed. I don't think he's washed. Yes, it is a weird thing at times, and there are many players who are examples of this season struggling to fit in on new teams. But I don't. You don't have to give up a top 50 player to get him. There's no way you need to give up that. So I would be doing it. Maxey was pretty good. 23 points, 1 rebound, yuck. 1 steal, but shot well. They didn't need to extend themselves. Of course, they still did, though. Well, Gershon Yabusele played 28 minutes with no Drummond, no Lowry, no Gordon, no KJ Martin. Yabusele had 16 points, 2 threes, steal, block. Pretty good. We're only looking at that as a deep league stream scenario. While Caleb Martin continues to do the Kelly Oubre. He's getting pumped full of minutes, and he's not giving us much for it. Now, 2 games ago, he had a 7 3-pointer game or whatever it was. He had 7 total points here. Stealing a block is fine, but we do not care about him in 12-team leagues. He's a stream-level player, and that is it, because the minutes are there and maybe something shakes loose. But overall, we don't care. We look at him in 14-teamers, 16-teamers, and that's probably about it. We had 14 Rookie Council minutes. That's Rookie Council the fourth. Jeff Downton played 5 minutes, and Reggie Jackson played 18 useless minutes, but whatever. They won by 22 points. We don't need to harp too much on that one. The last side, the last team we're going to talk about in today's game is the Portland Trailblazers, who were missing a few players. Jeremy Grant was out. Still no Delano Banton or Matisse Thybulle, of course. And Denny Avdia continued his strong run in a 33-minute start. But the thing with Denny is, again, you know my thoughts. I do not believe Denny is a star in the making. He is a solid rotation piece. But the thing was always to me, where is the usage and where are the minutes and how does he get there? Well, he gets there at the moment because Jeremy Grant was out. 33 minutes, 17, 7, and 2, which is a fine game, but he took 9 shots. That's fine. We roster him absolutely for now. But you've seen at times that he can get squeezed easily. The second name that I'm immediately going to shoot my eyes towards is Scoot Henderson. And 24 minutes. Okay. He had 7 assists and had 3 steals, so if you did use him and you did have him, you got something out of it. But the query has always been, what will the worst coach in the NBA, Chauncey Billups, do? How will he use Scoot? Scoot's minutes had pushed up and people going, is this the breakout? Is it here? And I was like, okay, I want to see what they do. And what they did was not good, unfortunately. And that's with Kamara back, who played 34 minutes. He had 12 and 10. If you do have Scoot, maybe just hold and see what happens in the next game. But the path was not super clear for 30-plus minutes, and he didn't get it, and that is frustrating. Shaedon Sharpe was honestly horrible in this game. 12, 1 and 1, can't shoot at all. His shooting numbers are absolutely in the toilet at the moment. I maintain that I don't think that he's an absolute must roster in categories. I get that you want to. And in points leagues, I also think that you probably should. But I don't see this well-rounded upside in him at all. We had Robert Williams returning here. So what did that mean for the center trio? Well, the Snowman played 30 minutes, DeAndre Ayton. 12 and 6 with 2 blocks. That's a little bit down from where he's been, but it's okay. So what about Donovan Clingan, the 7th overall pick? Oh, no. 9 minutes? 3 points, 1 rebound, 0 blocks. This all comes down to league format and strategy. If you want immediate production, you're kidding yourself if you've got this guy. You've got no hope. It's not happening. And it hasn't happened all season outside of 2 games. You've got no hope if you want immediate production. The man's the 3rd string center. He's playing single-digit minutes. If you're in a daily changes head-to-head league, you can't deal with this. Unless you are so far out on top of your standings that you can afford almost a literal 0 on your team. If you play in a roto league, if you play in a weekly games cap league, if you play in a weekly lock league, you can probably afford to sit someone on your bench and don't use them. Always be really cautious when you listen to me, when you listen to other fantasy analysts, when you evaluate your team, when you read things. Where are they coming from? What is the basis of the information they're giving? Because it's all well and good for somebody to tell you something and say, it's okay, Clingan at some point will get it right, just sit him on your bench. But for a lot of leagues, that doesn't work. It doesn't. I try to do my very best when explaining different league types and formats, and the vast majority of the content that I'll put out will be head-to-head leagues, categories and points, basing your playoff formats, daily changes leagues with limited benches. Because if you're in a roto league, you can just hold Clingan and you don't play him at all until he gets starters minutes. And that's a totally feasible solution. But if that's something that gets thrown out by someone who's coming from a roto angle or you talked about it, you think that idea, you have to understand where, not that it's wrong advice, because it's completely correct advice in weekly lock leagues and roto type formats. But a lot of you just can't stash zeros for weeks. And that, because it might actually end up turning into nothing anyway. So yeah. Also, Clingan, not as good as people think he is. Which is fine. He's a rookie. But I had people telling me crazy things like, he's definitely going to have a better career than DeAndre Ayton. They should be starting him straight away. And DeAndre Ayton, mind you, not that good. Clingan, also, way worse. Might be better. Unlikely, in my opinion. Simons was okay, I guess. 25, 4 and 4. Whatever. And Kamara had the 12 and 10. Like I said, he's a steals type stream guy. That's a lot of talk there on Donovan Clingan, probably more than I wanted to do. But again, I think it highlights just a broader point. of understanding how different formats work and how rankings, traditional rankings, not the ones that I tell you, traditional rankings that you see on Yahoo or Player Raters on ESPN, they are tailored towards rotisserie formats. And for the vast majority of you, I'm going to say 95% of you, it's useless information. It doesn't mean anything to you. So be cautious of how things are framed and how you take that information in. And yeah, I was going to try and create fake situation, but it makes me laugh. I'll do it now. Dan Besbris, I'm talking about you. You're terrible. You suck. Oh my God, everything you say is wrong and you're the worst. Yeah. Should we give out lines of the night? It's probably the right thing to do. The monstrous line of the night, I guess to no one's surprise, is Big Chungus Nikola Jokic. 36 points, 23 rebounds, 11 assists. The big fella cooked against a quality opponent in the Utah Jazz. The waiver wire line of the night, it has to go to the big sexy himself, Kelly Oubre Jr. 8 steals and a block is an outrageous line. He had 15 points to go with it. Well done, big fella. The young gun of the night, we're going to go to Golden State and the starting center for the foreseeable future. Trace Jackson-Davis had 16 and 16 with 2 blocks. And we roster him, absolutely. And then in 2 weeks' time, he's getting 12 minutes because that's Steve Kerr. And the dud of the night, I had an array of choices here. But how can I go past this man? Kyle Kuzma, 9, 3, 3, bad field goals, no defense, bad free throws. It's just the trifecta of shit sandwiches. Thanks, Kyle. I love you. Should we do the top 6 bits? Probably. It's probably that time of day. Your top 6 producers for the day. At number 1, of course, was Nikola Jokic for category leagues. Number 2, Russell Westbrook. Number 3, Josh the Hitman Hart. Pretty weird. Number 4, Mark Williams. We had 2 perfect shooting lines from Westbrook and Williams there. Number 5, Joel Embiid. And number 6, De'Aaron Foxy Fox. Your top 6 waiver wire players. A lot of interest in these names, I think, here. Number 1 is Kelly Oubre. The minutes are there, right? You know the ups and downs. 8 steals is fake. Of course it is. But the minutes will occasionally lead to good games. Spencer Dinwiddie is at number 2, just a must-roster player. Malcolm Brogdon at number 3, a must-roster player. Jordan Clarkson, if I knew he was going to play, especially with a nice little tight, packed schedule at the moment, yeah, that's useful. Moses Moody, no. Loved it, but no. And the last one is Dean Wade, who again is creating waves. And I challenge you in the double onyx, diamond, titanium, platinum, palladium leagues. Please don't tell me Dean Wade is rostered in those leagues. Have I beaten you to a punch somewhere? Surely. Nah, you got me again, I know. Nah, Dean Wade, though, again, I don't really trust it. I don't really trust it with Wadey. But it's happening. I'm going to pay a little bit of attention to it. The Yahoo points top 6 of the day. Jokic on top. Wow, what a surprise. Josh Hart at 2, Westbrook at 3, Miles Bridges 4, Mark Williams at 5. I did not hit her. And De'Aaron Fox at number 6. The top 6 ESPN Points League players. Jokic, Westbrook, Hart, Mark Williams, De'Aaron Fox, and Kelly Oubre Jr. If you are in Australia and enjoy New Year's Eve, be very, very safe. Please do that. And get ready to start 2025 off on a good note. One of the best notes of starting that off is by a thumb or a bang or a comment or a subscribe or a feedback or a 5-star or whatever. But also one of the best things you can do for me is just keep it positive, keep a positive attitude, stay safe. Lift yourself up, lift others up. Guys, except you, Besbris, coming for you. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.